The IQ Easy Manager has an LCD display with 256 colors. It shows all the information about all of the connected devices. If we look at the screen, you can see 6 positions where we can show devices. In this case, we have connected 3 devices: an anti-static bar, Performance IQ Easy, a charging generator, CM IQ Tiny, and a sensor, IQ Easy Sensor. And the other 3 positions, they don't have any devices. So if we look at the screen, the majority of the screen will give you information about all of the connected devices. On top of the screen here, we have 2 other buttons which will show you information about the manager itself. First, let's have a look at the anti-static bar, the Performance IQ Easy. When I touch the button, it will give you information screens about the Performance IQ Easy. You can see here on the right side of the screen, it has 5 pages, and I am on page 1 of 5. I will go through all of the pages to show you the information which is on the pages. If I want to go back to my main screen, I will have to push the home button, and then I am back on the main screen where you can see and overlook all of the connected devices. So at first we will go back to these screens. So we had these 5 information screens, but also on top here you can see 5 tabs on which you also have information about this particular device. We have the information. The information screen can change to a settings screen by pushing this little button here. Then at first I have to change from my user level. Standard, I am in a basic user level, which means I cannot do any settings. There is an advanced user level. In the advanced user level, we can change some of the settings, like set points for instance, and in the expert user level I can change all of the parameters. So I am going to enter expert user level now, and then at the right I can see all of the parameters that I can change. This parameter, for instance, is the device name. The user can change the device name. It's now Performance IQ Easy, but if I want to add some other characters, for instance this is Performance IQ Easy 1, I have entered it in my screen. I can say okay, I want to save it, and now it says Performance IQ Easy 1. I can also select the machine position. I can clear all what's in there by the backspace, and I can enter a new machine position, for instance roll 1, enter, and then it's stored into the device. So that's what we do on all of these pages. I will show you later all of the rest of the pages. I will go through the tabs now. All of the tabs show some information. We just changed from information to settings. The next tab is the graphics screen. It will show you per device some of the parameters that are important to this device. For instance, for the Performance IQ Easy, it's the downstream static level, it's the ionization current, and it is the efficiency of the anti-static bar. The action log, it will tell you what has happened into the system. It will show you all kinds of warnings and alarms. In this case, it already has given me a lot of clean bar warning alarms. You can also see it by this little signal here, this little button. It shows me that there is a constant clean bar warning alarm. The next step is data log. Here I can have a brief overview of all of the parameters that are logged into the device and which are also accessible by the Ethernet port, or in later stages the USB port. And the last tab is maintenance. Here I have some maintenance actions that I can do, like clearing the action log, clearing the data log, a web voltage peak reset, restore to factory settings, or calibrate bar. When I go back to my settings, I can show you the next few screens that are available for the static bar. Here you see the web peak voltage, ionization efficiency, it's currently 66%. The ionization currents, -17 and +19, and the difference between the ionization current is 2 microamps. The clean bar warning level is set to 81%, and you can see the actual ionization efficiency is 66%, so this means this is the reason for the warning that we have seen in the previous screen. There is a last clean bar warning. There is no warning inside now because we haven't cleared it yet. Data logging is off. The next screen is 3 of 5. It holds some information that we need for some settings. The mounting distance, the web width and the web speed. Here it says paired sensor and the available segments of these sensors and enabled segments. The fourth screen is last calibration date, balance offset, auto run, remote on off source, favorite screen position and graphic refresh time. And the last screen is only information, the time the device has been running, the country where it's made, and the current firmware version which is inside of the anti-static bar. This section of the Manager IQ Easy concerns the global information, so that's the information and settings of the manager itself. And these two buttons here on top, they are used to get into this section. So when I press the I of information, I will see here this is my system information, so this is information about the manager itself. You can fill in a device name, a machine position name, the device type is fixed because that's already done by the factory. You can set data logging to on and off. You can set the data logging interval time and the date and time. In this case it also has two screens, 1 of 2 and this is 2 of 2. Here you see the user basic level, the time running and some other parameters about the buzzer. You can set it on and off. When you press a button you hear the buzzer. You can set the frequency and the beep length, and you can also see the software version of the manager itself. When I go back to the first screen, to change settings for the global information you have to press this button and choose a user level. In basic you cannot change anything, so you will have to choose either advanced or expert. I will now choose expert. You can see now we are in the settings screen and we have the little pencils that mean these parameters we can change. So I can set data logging to yes. I can set the log time interval, meaning how often it will log all the parameters to my memory. So each minute from 1 minute up to 60 minutes. I'll stay at 1 minute. On this page we can see I am in user level expert, and at the same time now we have two new settings here, which is advanced password and expert password. Once I set the password, the next time I want to log in as expert or advanced, I have to use the password. And you can change it by yourself by pressing the little button and putting in a password and acknowledging it. The first time you get new equipment, especially when you get new static bars in the system, you have to calibrate the anti-static bar. And how we do that is we go into the menu of the anti-static bar, in this case the Performance IQ Easy 1. we have to go to settings, and then we go to maintenance, and here in the maintenance screen you can see a position calibrate bar. When I push this button, it starts calibrating the bar. It will take 1 up to 5 minutes to calibrate the bar. At the bar you will see the little light flashing, and as long as it's flashing, it's calibrating. Calibrating should be done when there is a web, but the web is not moving and the bar has been installed. So after calibration, we can go into the device again. Currently it's in standby. You can see that by the little icon here. I can set it into running position by pressing this button. And you can see ionization efficiency is now 100%. The clean baring level was at 81%, so there is no longer a clean bar warning. When I go into the action log, we can see there was a clean bar warning up till 10:36. At approximately 11 we calibrated the bar, and now the calibration has been done. The efficiency is back up to 100%. Further, if we want to set up the whole system, we will have to set some other parameters. So I will go back into the settings. The first one you will have to set up is the operation mode. When it comes from the factory, it is in fixed mode. You will have to change it if you have a sensor in the system to closed loop feedback, which is this last button. On the next page, you will have the web voltage peak. It will show it now when there is a sensor attached. At page 3, we'll have to let the bar know from which sensor it will have to take its data. So here you will get a list of all the connected devices. So if this is set to none, there is no connected device. In this case it has been set to IQ Easy sensor. It means the sensor is giving the static bar data for the closed loop feedback. When you have chosen the paired sensor, immediately you will see how many measuring segments the sensor will have. In this case it has one segment, and it has also, this segment is also enabled, so it means it is using this segment for measuring the data and correcting the anti-static bar. If you have a sensor with more than one segment, you will have to choose which segments you want to be active during a production run, because it can happen that if you have 4 sensors and you are running a smaller material, that only 2 sensors are measuring data on the web. In this case you'll have to go into this menu and select the segments that are actually measuring the web and make them active. So once we have set up these parameters, in principle the static bar is ready to run. We go back to the main menu and check. Okay, now it's blue, it is running, the static charge is running, and the sensor is running. So before we start the whole demonstration, we'll also check the settings on the charging equipment. For instance, if I want my web to be charged up to 12 kilovolts, I can go into the CM Tiny. Oh, it's actually already set to 12 kilovolts. if I want to change this, for instance, to 11 kilovolts, I'll have to go, now I'm in information mode, I have to go to the settings mode again, change the set point. In this case, it is 12 kilovolts. When I want it to 11 kilovolts, I can use this slider here to go up and down. Now I'm at 10.6 kilovolts. When I want exactly 11 kilovolts, I can use the little yellow arrows to get it on exactly 11 kilovolts, acknowledge, and now I have set my set point to 11 kilovolts. So this is in principle all I have to do on the charging. So I can go back to my main screen. It's all running. So now we can start the demonstration on the moving web. Okay, now we can start demonstration on the moving web to see what happens. In this case, the starting position is the charging is running. You can see that by the little triangle icon. It's running. The anti-static bar is running, and the IQ Easy sensor is running. So you can see on the web, it is neutralizing. It is green, and the little paper is not sticking to the web. When I switch off the anti-static bar, meaning it's no longer neutralizing, I can do that by going into the button and changing the run and standby position of the anti-static bar by pressing this button. You can immediately see at the web there is a charge at the web now, and the little paper is attracting to the web. When I switch back the anti-static bar to neutralizing, it starts neutralizing and the voltage on the web is gone. To check what is happening in the system, we can also go into the graphics menu. When I go into the graphics menu of the Performance IQ Easy, we can see the graphic here. The efficiency is 100%. You can see the ion currents, which are not very high at this point of time. And the green line will give me the downstream voltage. And the downstream voltage is now very close to zero. You can hardly see it in this graph. But once I switch off the anti-static bar again, so when I'm not neutralizing, you can see what's happening on the graph. You can see the efficiency is now zero because the anti-static bar has been switched off, and the charge is up to a certain level. You can press the graph and it will hold. We can see now here the scale of the graph is minus 30 kilovolts, meaning half of the scale is 15 kilovolts. So this is close to 12 kilovolts, 11, 12 kilovolts. It is exactly the same as I have set in the charging generator. When I press the graph again, it will start moving, and we can see the charge is around 11, 12 kilovolts. The little dotted line will give you the maximum charge that has been measured in a certain time period. So when I switch on the bar again, you can also see what is happening. Immediately it will start neutralizing the charge on the web. Efficiency is back up, and the web charge is being neutralized. We'll hold it again. You can see the web charge is very close to zero now. And you can still see the maximum charge that was in this time frame was still 11 kilovolts. I can look at the charges on the web also on a different manner. I can go back to my home screen. I can go to the IQ Easy sensor and also go into the graphics tab. And here it will also show me the web voltage. Currently it's very low, the scale here is 5 kilovolts, so it's very close to 0. When I switch off the anti-static bar again and go back to the sensor, I can also see here what is happening. The scale has now changed from -5 kilovolts to -20 kilovolts, and you can see when switching on off the anti-static bar there was a little peak voltage of just over 15 kilovolts, and the average voltage now on the sensor on the web is just around the 12 kilovolts. The sensor, it will show you each segment which is in the sensor. In this particular sensor there's only one measuring segment, so it's only showing you one segment, and at the total at the end it will show you the average. In this case it will be the same, but if there is a sensor in place with a maximum of 16 segments, this graph will be filled completely with all of the individual segments, and at the end it will show you the average of these segments. Each device may have some specific settings. To look at them and to change them, you have to go into the device menu by pressing the button. In this case I'm going to the IQ Easy sensor. I have 3 pages here. When I go to the next page, I can see the web average voltage of all of the sensors. In this case there's only one sensor. I can see the peak voltages. Peak voltages are always shown negative and positive, depending on the time frame you have set for the data logging. In this case it was set to 1 minute. In each minute there can be a negative peak and there can be a positive peak, so it will show you both values. It will show you the web voltage, the actual voltage of the measuring segment 1, which is, you can see, fluctuating between 12 kilovolts and 13.5 kilovolts. It will show you the peak voltage it has measured in this period. What is also important, the sensor needs to be positioned at a certain distance to be accurate for the reading. So at installation you will have to tell the IQ manager the right distance you have mounted the sensor. On page 3 you can see you can set a warning set point and an alarm set point. If we go back one screen, we can see it is fluctuating around 12.5, 13 kilovolts. So if I change these parameters by going into the settings screen, I can set the warning set point to a lower level, like for instance 4 kilovolts. And you immediately can see it is giving me a warning. When I want to know what the warning is, I go into the action log and look at the warning, and it says, okay, high voltage, there is a pre-warning, which means it's giving me a warning because the voltage that has been measured on the web is above 4.7 kilovolts. I can do the same for the alarm set point. It is now at 20 kilovolts. When I set that below the measured value, for instance, well, maybe 10 kilovolts, now the little icon changes from a warning to an alarm. And when I go into the action log, okay, it also will tell me there was a warning, but now it has been overruled by a higher level, which means a warning, an error, the high voltage is too high. I can also see that in the main screen. You can see by the colors of the icons what the current situation of the device is. When it is blue, like the CM IQ Tiny, it is running. When it is green, it is in standby. In this case, for the IQ Easy sensor, it is red, meaning a warning. Installation of the Manager IQ Easy is very simple. On the back you will find two slots. You have to mount two bolts in your machine frame, hang the Manager, and have a third bolt over here to fix the complete box of the Manager. On the bottom you will find all of the available connections. We have 6 device ports, M12 connectors for all of the individual devices. We have the mains power entry with the on-off switch, the Ethernet port, a possibility to put in a field bus, USB ports, and a sub-D 25 pin sub-D connector for analog and digital inputs. Now we will start connecting all of the devices with the devices itself. Once you have mounted the anti-static bar with the easy universal mounting brackets, you can plug in the M12 connector. We'll do the same for the sensor. The sensor also has an air connection. You can put a little Festo tube in here and have some air on the sensor. Especially in dirty environments, it is recommended to use the air connection and have only a little pressure, lower than 0.5 bars, and it will have a constant airstream through the sensor to keep the sensor clean. Once you have connected all of the cables, we can go to the Manager. In principle, all equipment can be connected when the Manager is running. Now it's switched off. We'll start with the power connection for the Manager and switch it on. You can see on the Manager no devices are connected. We'll start with the first device to connect it to the first port. Put another device on. You can see it has recognized this device to be the anti-static bar Performance IQ Easy. It also recognized the sensor already, which I put on this port, and on this port it's also recognized it and as the CM Tiny. The last connection we will make is our analog digital interface. And now we're finished. We have put all the cables in place. When I need to replace an anti-static bar or a sensor or any other device, I can leave the Manager running. I can just unplug the cable and put a new one in or put it on a different port. When I'm finished, I can put the cap on to protect the cables, and I'm up and running.